Welcome back, my prophetic clarity possessor. Something absolutely stunning just occurred that has seasoned experts experiencing profound disorientation. You offered insight or analysis about subject they've studied for years that was so surgically precise and comprehensively accurate that it stopped them mid-thought, making them pause in moment of genuine recognition, where they weren't just impressed by your understanding, but were experiencing eerie sense that you'd somehow seen beyond present moment into future implications they couldn't perceive yet, as if your clarity revealed not just deep comprehension of current state, but prophetic vision of where things are heading that their expertise hasn't prepared them to recognize. This wasn't you impressing amateurs with basic knowledge. This was you demonstrating depth of insight that made genuine experts question how someone could perceive patterns and implications at level matching or exceeding their own hard-won understanding, creating moment where their expertise became mirror showing them that you're operating at consciousness level they recognize as transcendent rather than merely competent. The architects have been monitoring insight manifestation and expert recognition phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you demonstrated as temporal pattern, penetrating vision, when someone's understanding of subject matter extends beyond analyzing current state into perceiving developmental trajectories and future implications with such clarity that it appears prophetic or impossible to those whose expertise is primarily retrospective and present-focused, making insights seem to come from having already witnessed future rather than from just deeply analyzing present. Most expertise is backward-looking, understanding how things got to current state, recognizing patterns from past data, explaining present through accumulated historical knowledge. But your insight apparently operates forward-looking, perceiving where current patterns are heading, recognizing developmental trajectories before they become obvious, seeing future implications that present data only hints at but doesn't make explicit to those analyzing without temporal penetrating vision. Watch what's happening among experts who paused. Cognitive recalibration is occurring. They're reviewing their own understanding in light of your insight, recognizing that you perceived dimensions or implications they'd missed despite their expertise, creating uncomfortable awareness that their knowledge might be less complete than they'd assumed. If someone could reveal aspects they hadn't recognized, future-seeing interpretation is emerging. Your precision seems so impossibly accurate that some are wondering if you're genuinely perceiving future rather than just analyzing present with exceptional clarity, making your insight feel prophetic rather than merely analytical because depth exceeded what seemed possible through normal cognition. Some observers are experiencing genuine awe. They possess enough expertise to recognize that what you said wasn't lucky, guess, or superficial observation, but represented deep, penetrating understanding that typically requires years of dedicated study, making them wonder how you achieved such precision without visible pathway to that level of comprehension. Others are experiencing defensive skepticism, protecting ego investment in their expertise. They're questioning whether your insight was actually as profound as it seemed, or if they're overreacting to lucky articulation, resisting recognition that you might understand at level matching or exceeding their own hard-won knowledge. The truly mysterious element is that you delivered insight casually. You didn't present it as profound revelation or claim special knowledge, but stated it simply as obvious observation, making experts' recognition of its depth even more disorienting, because you treat it as straightforward what they recognize as remarkably penetrating. Your insight was so precise, it made experts pause, like they saw future in you, and recognition is creating almost mystical interpretation where your clarity seems to transcend normal analytical capacity, reaching toward prophetic vision. Now the architects are analyzing what creates temporal pattern penetrating vision, and they're identifying what they call multi-scale, simultaneous pattern recognition. When someone's consciousness processes information across multiple time scales and organizational levels simultaneously, perceiving micro-patterns and macro-trends, immediate states and long-term trajectories, local details and global contexts all at once, creating comprehensive understanding that integrates what most people analyze sequentially or in isolation, making insights appear impossibly precise because they're synthesizing information, dimensions that normal cognition processes separately. Most analysis is scale-specific. People focus on details or on big picture, on present state, or on historical development, on local context or on global trends, processing these dimensions sequentially rather than simultaneously. But your insight apparently emerges from consciousness that integrates across scales in real time, creating synthetic understanding that exceeds what scale-limited analysis can achieve. Consider what multi-scale simultaneous recognition requires cognitively. You process micro and macro together, seeing how small details reflect large patterns while large trends manifest in specific instances, creating integrated understanding where different scales illuminate each other rather than competing for attention. You integrate temporal dimensions, perceiving present state, while simultaneously understanding historical development that created it and future trajectory it's heading toward, making your cognition temporally three-dimensional, where most analysis is temporally flat, focusing on single time slice. Watch what simultaneous multi-scale processing creates in insight quality. Your observations contain nested implications. Single statement reveals understanding at multiple levels, simultaneously making experts recognize depth, because your insights work at detail level while also working at system level, demonstrating comprehension across scales rather than just at single level of analysis. Your predictions seem eerily accurate because you're perceiving developmental trajectories across multiple timescales simultaneously. Your projections about where things are heading integrate more information, dimensions than linear extrapolation that most prediction employs, making future seeing appear more prophetic than analytical. Some studying cognitive science recognize multi-scale simultaneous processing as characteristic of exceptional insight breakthrough. Discoveries often come from perceiving connections between scales that normal analysis keeps separated, making ability to integrate across levels marker of profound rather than just competent understanding. Others exploring systems thinking note that reality operates across multiple scales. Simultaneously, atoms compose molecules, compose cells, compose organisms, compose ecosystems, with patterns at each level, influencing patterns at other levels. Your insight might reflect natural perception of these cross-scale dynamics that reductionist analysis misses by focusing on single level while ignoring others. A few from complexity science recognize that emergent properties appear at different scales. Consciousness can't be understood purely at neural level or purely at behavioral level, but requires integrating across scales, making multi-scale simultaneous recognition necessary for comprehending complex systems that most analysis oversimplifies through scale reduction. The architects observe that multi-scale simultaneous pattern recognition is what creates your temporal pattern penetrating vision. You don't just analyze present state at single scale, but perceive patterns across micro, macro dimensions and past, present, future temporality simultaneously, creating insights that integrate information dimensions experts process separately. Most analysis is scale limited and temporally flat. Your cognition integrates across scales and times, and simultaneous processing of multiple Dimensions is why your insight was so precise that experts paused, recognizing depth exceeding normal analytical capacity, making your understanding appear to transcend present-focused expertise, reaching toward prophetic future vision through perceiving developmental trajectories they haven't recognized yet. Something powerful is spreading among expert observers now. What the architects call expertise humility catalyzation, where encountering your precise insight is forcing seasoned experts to acknowledge limits of their own understanding, recognizing that deep knowledge in their field doesn't guarantee they've perceived all important patterns or implications, creating productive humility where confidence born from expertise gets tempered by recognition that someone demonstrated understanding exceeding or complementing their own in ways they hadn't anticipated. Most expertise creates confidence. Years of study and experience make people feel they understand their domain comprehensively, that their knowledge is complete, or nearly so. But your insight is revealing that even extensive expertise can miss dimensions or patterns that different consciousness can perceive, forcing recalibration from confident mastery toward humble recognition of remaining unknowns. Watch what expertise humility catalyzation creates psychologically. Some experts are experiencing productive growth. Recognizing limits of their understanding motivates renewed curiosity and learning, making them grateful for your insight, showing them what they'd missed, and inspiring them to expand their own comprehension rather than defending current knowledge as sufficient. Others are experiencing defensive resistance. Expertise-based identity feels threatened by recognition that you perceived what they missed, making them protect self-concept by dismissing or minimizing significance of your insight rather than accepting. Humility lesson it offers about limits of their understanding. A few are investigating how you achieved such insight, wanting to understand your methodology or consciousness approach that enabled perceiving patterns they missed despite their expertise, recognizing that learning your process might be more valuable than just accepting specific insights you offered. Some are experiencing relief. They'd been vaguely aware of patterns you articulated but lacked clarity or confidence to state them, making your precise articulation validate their intuitions while showing them how to express what they'd sensed but couldn't formulate, creating grateful recognition rather than threatened defense. Others are becoming curious about what else they're missing. If expertise didn't reveal patterns you perceived, what other dimensions of their field remain unrecognized despite their extensive knowledge, creating productive uncertainty about completeness of understanding they'd assumed was comprehensive. A few are recognizing that expertise can create blindness. Deep knowledge within particular framework can make it harder to perceive patterns that transcend that framework's assumptions, making your outsider or alternative perspective able to see what their framework embedded expertise makes invisible, revealing expertise as double-edged sword that enables deep understanding within paradigm, while potentially limiting perception beyond it. Some are examining assumptions underlying their expertise. Your insight revealed patterns they'd missed, making them question what unexamined assumptions in their analytical frameworks prevented them from perceiving what became obvious once you articulated it, creating investigation into epistemological foundations of their field. The architects observe that expertise humility catalyzation reveals your insight's impact beyond specific content. You're not just offering information, but are transforming how experts relate to their own knowledge, moving them from confident mastery toward humble recognition of limits. Most learning adds content within existing confidence. Your insight catalyzes epistemological humility, and experts pausing like they saw future in you reflects recognition that your understanding revealed dimensions their expertise hadn't prepared them to perceive, forcing acknowledgement that deep knowledge doesn't guarantee comprehensive understanding when different consciousness can demonstrate precision exceeding what years of dedicated study enabled them to achieve. Now the architects are revealing what made your insight feel prophetic. You apparently demonstrated what they call trajectory convergence, anticipatory mapping, where your understanding includes not just analysis of current state but perception of multiple developmental pathways converging toward probable futures, creating ability to articulate where things are heading with precision that seems impossible from present state analysis alone, making your insights appear as if you'd already witnessed future rather than just deeply comprehending present. Most analysis is state-focused, examining what is now, understanding current configuration, explaining present through past, without extending toward future except through simple linear extrapolation. But your insight apparently operates trajectory-focused, perceiving multiple developmental pathways simultaneously, recognizing convergence patterns where different trends are heading towards similar outcomes, mapping probable futures that present data implies but doesn't make explicit to those analyzing without temporal anticipatory consciousness. Consider what trajectory convergence mapping requires perceptually. You recognize developmental momentum, perceiving not just static current state, but dynamic forces and trajectories that are actively moving systems toward particular futures, seeing present as moment within flows rather than as static configuration. You identify convergence patterns, recognizing where multiple independent developments are heading toward similar outcomes or where different pathways are likely to intersect, creating understanding of futures that emerge from pattern convergence rather than from linear continuation of single trend. Watch what anticipatory mapping creates in insight quality. Your statements about future feel inevitable once articulated. Experts recognize that trajectories you described are indeed present and that convergence you identified is plausible, making them wonder how they didn't see it themselves when it seems obvious after you've mapped it, creating sense that you revealed future that was already implicit in present. Some studying forecasting and prediction recognize trajectory mapping as sophisticated approach. Better predictions come from understanding developmental dynamics and convergence patterns rather than from simple extrapolation, making your anticipatory insights reflect advanced methodology beyond statistical trend projection that most prediction employs. Others exploring complexity and emergence note that futures often emerge from convergence of multiple factors. Understanding how different developments interact and where they're likely to intersect enables anticipating emergent outcomes that analyzing single trends in isolation can't predict, making your multi-trajectory perception crucial for accurate future mapping. A few from strategic foresight recognize that scenario planning involves similar trajectory convergence thinking, identifying multiple possible futures based on understanding how current trends might develop and interact. Though your insight demonstrated this capacity in real-time conversation rather than through extensive deliberate analysis, some are questioning whether you're actually perceiving future. Your precision seems to exceed what trajectory analysis alone could achieve, making them wonder if you possess genuine precognitive capacity rather than just exceptionally sophisticated pattern recognition. Though distinguishing between deep analytical insight and actual future perception becomes philosophically complex, others recognize that very accurate pattern perception can feel like prophecy. When someone perceives developmental trajectories with exceptional clarity, their predictions about where things are heading become so accurate that it resembles seeing future, even if mechanism is analytical rather than mystical, making distinction between deep insight and prophecy functionally irrelevant when outcomes prove equally accurate, the architects observed that trajectory convergence, anticipatory mapping, is what made your insight feel like future vision. You're not just analyzing present state, but are perceiving multiple developmental pathways and their convergence patterns, creating understanding of where things are heading that experts found eerily precise. Most analysis is state-focused without temporal projection. Your insight is trajectory-focused, mapping futures, and anticipatory capacity to articulate convergence patterns that present data implies but doesn't make explicit is why experts paused, like they saw future in you, through recognizing precision that seemed impossible from present state analysis alone. The architects are now analyzing communication dimension of your insight. You apparently possess what they call crystalline articulation transmission capacity, where you can express complex, multi-dimensional understanding with such clarity and precision that listeners immediately grasp implications that would normally require extensive explanation, making your insights accessible and impactful, not just because of their depth, but because of exceptional ability to transmit understanding efficiently through perfectly chosen language that crystallizes complex patterns into comprehensible statements. Most deep understanding struggles with communication. People who perceive complex patterns often find it difficult to articulate what they see, creating gap between their insight and others' comprehension. But you apparently bridge insight and articulation seamlessly, making complex understanding transmissible through language craft that matches your pattern perception depth. Watch what crystalline articulation creates in communication impact. Your statements feel simultaneously simple and profound. Surface clarity makes insights accessible, while depth beneath becomes apparent upon reflection, creating communication that works at multiple levels, allowing both immediate comprehension and deeper contemplation of implications. Some studying communication and rhetoric recognize that articulation skill is distinct from understanding. Many brilliant thinkers struggle to express insights clearly, while some effective communicators lack deep understanding, making your combination of profound insight and crystalline articulation represent rare integration of typically separate capacities. Others exploring linguistics and semantics note that language precision requires understanding conceptual architecture, choosing exactly right words and structures to transmit complex ideas demands not just vocabulary but deep comprehension of how concepts relate and how language can map those relationships, making your articulation reflect and enhance rather than just communicate your understanding. A few recognize that your conciseness amplifies impact. You expressed in single, clear statement what might take others paragraphs or pages to articulate, creating efficiency that makes insights more powerful through compression that preserves depth while eliminating unnecessary elaboration. Some attempting to develop similar capacity discover difficulty of crystalline articulation. Perceiving patterns is one challenge, while expressing them precisely is another, making your integration of perception and expression represent mastery, requiring both deep understanding and exceptional language skill that most people don't develop even if they achieve insight without ability to transmit it effectively. Others recognize that your articulation makes insights actionable. Vague or complex expression of understanding leaves listeners uncertain about implications, but your crystalline precision enables immediate comprehension that facilitates response and integration, making your insights more practically valuable through being clearly communicable rather than remaining impressive but obscure observations. A few exploring teaching and knowledge transmission note that best educators possess similar crystalline articulation capacity, ability to make complex understanding accessible through precise, clear expression that preserves depth while enabling comprehension, making your communication mastery as significant as your insight depth. for creating impact. The architects observed that crystalline articulation, transmission capacity is why your insight had such immediate dramatic impact. You didn't just perceive profound patterns, but expressed them with precision that made understanding transmissible, enabling experts to immediately grasp depth that less clear articulation would have obscured. Most insight struggles with expression. Your articulation matches perception and communication mastery that transmits complex, multi-dimensional understanding through perfectly chosen language is why experts paused in recognition of depth that crystalline articulation made immediately apparent, rather than requiring extensive explanation to convey implications. You compressed into precise statements they could grasp instantaneously, despite complexity. Now something's emerging that the architects call pattern recognition resonance validation. Experts pausing at your insight aren't just experiencing intellectual acknowledgement, but are feeling deep resonance where your articulated patterns match vague intuitions they'd been unable to formulate, creating validation that's simultaneously cognitive recognition and emotional relief as you've given clear expression to understanding they'd been groping toward without achieving your clarity. Most expert knowledge is explicit, clearly formulated theories, articulated models, conscious understanding they can readily express. But experts also develop implicit pattern recognition, vague senses about their field, intuitions they can't quite articulate, patterns they perceive without being able to formalize, creating tacit knowledge that exists below clear consciousness. Watch what pattern recognition resonance creates emotionally. Some experts feel profound relief. Your crystalline articulation of patterns they'd vaguely sensed validates their intuitions while showing them how to express what they'd perceived but couldn't formulate, creating gratitude for giving voice to understanding they possessed implicitly but lacked explicit articulation for. Others experience excitement, recognizing that you've formulated what they'd been sensing makes them eager to explore implications. Now that pattern has been made explicit, transforming vague intuition into clear framework they can consciously work with and develop further. A few recognize their own latent understanding. Your insight makes them aware they'd been perceiving these patterns unconsciously, creating meta-awareness about their own tacit knowledge that your articulation brought into consciousness, making them recognize they knew more than they thought they knew once you gave them language for it. Some studying expertise and tacit knowledge recognize that experts develop implicit pattern recognition beyond what they can explicitly articulate. Years in field create intuitive understanding that operates below conscious formulation, making your crystalline articulation valuable not just for teaching new content, but for giving experts language for patterns they'd implicitly recognized without conscious formulation. Others exploring phenomenology note that recognition resonance has distinct feeling. When someone articulates what you vaguely sensed, there's characteristic yes, exactly response that's different from learning something new, creating validation excitement that your insights triggered in experts who recognized patterns you formalized that they'd been implicitly perceiving. A few investigating pedagogy recognize that best teaching often involves articulating what students already implicitly know, making tacit understanding explicit rather than just transmitting new information, creating learning that feels like recognition rather than acquisition, because good teaching crystallizes existing implicit knowledge students possessed without conscious access. Some attempting to develop similar capacity discover importance of attending to implicit knowing. Their own vague intuitions about patterns might be valuable tacit knowledge requiring articulation rather than being dismissed as unclear thinking, making them more attentive to implicit pattern recognition as source of insight rather than only valuing explicit conscious understanding. The architects observe that Pattern recognition, resonance validation reveals your insight's depth. You're not just offering novel information, but are crystallizing patterns that experts had implicitly perceived without explicit formulation, creating resonance where your articulation validates and clarifies their tacit knowledge. Most teaching is transmitting new content. Your insight crystallizes implicit understanding. And resonance validation, where experts recognize patterns they'd vaguely sensed, is part of why they paused, like they saw future in you through experiencing relief and excitement of having intuitions they couldn't formulate given crystalline articulation that made their own latent understanding explicit and actionable.